Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Now, today we are talking about the France v England game, the big quarterfinal that's up and coming. Obviously, England were very successful against Senegal, beating them 3-0, and France basically just breezed past Poland. So we're going to be discussing all of that and more next. I'm obviously joined by the beautiful Ty. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm all right. Yeah, thanks for asking. As you can see, it's a slightly different background. I'm
Yeah.
not in Qatar, although you did say, "Are you in Qatar?" No, this isn't. It might look like a Qatar background, but I can confirm I am in absolutely freezing cold Bradford, stroke
Yeah.
Hercules. Yeah,
So
absolutely freezing here. But yeah, I swam downstairs just to warm myself up a bit.
brilliant. So yeah, obviously we've just finished our recording of our quarterfinal predictions. We've also done a little bit on the England game as well there. But on this specific podcast, we're talking everything England and France. So we're going to be talking about Mbappe v Walker. We're going to be talking Southgate, Bellingham, Jordan Henderson, and all the rest after this. Yeah, so England obviously they came up against Senegal. It was actually it was like a performance of I want to say 2 30 minutes more than anything else. It was like, we were struggling to impose ourselves on the game. They pressed us really well, and we found it difficult to break through the press and handle their press, similar to the USA game. Once we got the goal, that's when things changed. And then I'd say for the next 30 minutes, we looked more like what you would consider ourselves. And then the last 30 minutes was, surprisingly, for an England knockout game, it was a non-event at that point. It was done. There was nothing really to play for. Now, obviously, things are going to change with France. So your thoughts on the Senegal game?
Yeah, exactly the same. I thought 35 minutes, Senegal should have been at least 1-up.
Yeah.
England got the goal from Henderson, which was massively against the run-up player. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that changed the game. The second goal just killed Senegal. It was all over then, and then England just sort of went through it. England's performance reminded me a lot of Germany in yesteryear when they were efficient and ruthless. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? That is what it was. And yeah, you look at Germany out in the group stages, and England now doing what Germany used to do.
Yeah.
The actual game against France as well. I might be. I don't think France are slight favourites, but I actually fancy England. I think England will beat them.
Oh, good. I like that.
Because I mean, there's so much on Kylian Mbappe. It was obviously brilliant, but I didn't like Kyle Walker's interview when he was like saying,
No,
"Yeah, bring him on." You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm like, why would you say that and do that to
no.
Kyle? It's
Just
like,
show him it.
I
He's
mean,
just going to show him it,
yeah,
And
Ismail Sarr just pretty much told him a new one, didn't he? You know, in the in the game in the
yeah,
first 35, 40 minutes. I'm like, come on, there's steps, you know, and there's levels and there's levels and there's Mbappe. So I should have just kept his mouth shut there, because whatever, you can see on Instagram and Mbappe on Twitter, Mbappe is that sort of character that once, if France beat them, he'll just say that, oh, he's just another player or something. Do you know what I mean? And he'll be
yeah,
like, yeah, he'll
exactly.
give
Yeah.
it all thumbs up. But yeah, no, I thought, yeah, but I just think, I think England is set up. It'll suit England to play more in the break and not have to force the game. That's where I think they fall down sometimes. But I
The
think
low block.
England's, yeah, I think the midfield three. I think Rice hasn't played great. I think put Phillips in there. I think he was the only one, and we spoke about it. Rice is killing England at the moment. They're trying to play from the back, because we've been WhatsApping a lot. He hides a lot. And I spoke to another mate of mine who's probably, he's the best coach I've ever seen, and he works at a pro club, and it was the same. It's like every time he looks his square on, he looks, you know, he gets the ball back to, and it's whether he's been asked to play really defensively. So he said the thing he said, he thinks he's been asked to play like that, which can be fine, you know what I mean. But I still think there was a moment in the second half. It might be the second half when he's got the ball, it's found himself on the right wing, but the ball from the England player was so made him go forward. So he couldn't come back, because it was like the
Yeah.
defender behind him. So you draw forward, and he played forward. I'm like, he needs to do that more. It's like
He
he's getting
does do it
himself.
at West Ham, doesn't he? And that's when he's
Yeah,
at his best.
but
Yeah.
against with Stones and Maguire, they're looking for options, and he's hiding, and he's not looking for anything. And he's always coming square. When you come in square, you're coming out, the ball bounces off it, and you go back to the centre half. Whether if you're coming off an angle, you can open up and you can go both ways. It's
Exactly.
just, and we spoke about it. It feels like it's a centre half that's moved into midfield, because I'm a centre half, and whenever I played midfield, I felt I did that a lot with your back to play. Because a lot of time in midfield, you've got to learn to take the ball on your back foot and play sort of side on. so you can play forward as well. And it's the hardest thing. And you've got to be able to take the ball under pressure. It's always like when it comes and to play the ball, when the ball's coming into an angle, to play it side, there's a slight bit of risk to it. But when you're playing back, there's no risk. It's always a safe option. But then the press for them that might be the trigger every time he passes it back. Go press the centre half, and that's why when Maguire and Stones were looking bad. Now they're both okay with the ball at their feet, but if they're getting no options, it's just not happening. And it's just something that England need to work on and tweak on, because if they're going to play, there's nothing wrong with playing direct, play up to Kane, play for seconds, that's fine. It's a bit archaic, but if it means getting out and then playing from the bit, just don't give France. They don't need that help.
Emphasis,
they don't need it. So that's just something they need to look at. I mean, Southgate, he just doesn't get the credit he deserves, and I know we can touch that on that later. I think his record is unbelievable. I read a stat: England have won. They won 6 knockout games from 2018, from like 1966 or 70, whenever it was, till 2018, and they've won 6 knockout games from 2018 to 2022, and that's under Southgate. So you've just, do you know what I mean? The stuff that is done, I think people are getting complacent. I think they forgot about when England used to get beat by
quarterfinals,
so quarters and last 16s and penalties. Sometimes didn't even qualify from group. So this is like a team that's got to a final, got semi-final. They're now in a quarterfinal with a realistic chance of winning it as well. There'll be tough games, but the only question mark I've got, and I mentioned it before as well in the last podcast, was in the last 2 years, every time they've come up against a proper side, they've fallen short.
Yeah,
I actually think this is the time they'll change it. I think if they don't learn after those 2 games, this is a huge moment. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that's the bit that needs to really be looked at.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Declan Rice, easiest way to play is playing the way that you face, and that's why all coaches play the way that you face. But obviously, like you say, on a turn, very difficult to do. And I do think it's been drilled into him that he needs to play very defensive. So that's why he's not taking the ball under pressure. But going on to Jordan Henderson real quick. Obviously, we're obviously big fans of him and see him week in, week out, and see the vital part that he plays. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Mbappe. I feel like Jordan Henderson is very much so the key to helping keep him quiet. But do you feel like too much emphasis is being placed on Mbappe when they've clearly got, like, Dembele can show up on his day, and obviously Giroud, he can, turn the best of defenders. You ask Van Dijk, who's best forward you play up against?
Yeah.
Giroud.
Yeah. No, you're right. You got Griezmann there. So I think it's those front four, but those front four are obviously the huge step. I don't think France's midfield's great. Rabiot and Tchouaméni, I mean, it's been a disappointment for me. I mean, we're talking how much did he pay? 100 million for Rabiot's average. We saw him in the Juve Turin derby, didn't we? And he was every time I've seen him play, he's not a very good. He's all right. I mean, he wouldn't get into England's midfield. Let's just put it like that, would he? He wouldn't get anywhere close to it. And then the back four, I don't think it's great. You've got a centre half playing at right back, and you've got Theo Hernandez at left back, who's great going forward, but not so much going backwards. And Varane and Upamecano, as good as they are individually, I don't feel like they're a good partnership. That's centre halves are always about partnership. And Lloris, he's got a rick in him all day, every day. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of weaknesses in that team, but then they're obviously propped up by a fantastic forward line. So front four, I think that we generally say, because whoever they've played against, I mean, the Denmark game they were lucky, because that was Denmark lead deserved at least a draw in that game. And then even the last game, the Poland game, that was tight, and then it obviously a bit of Mbappe magic makes it the scoreline that it did. But yeah, I think. I fancy England. I really do. I'll be looking at that. I think they've got a great chance. But the Henderson thing, I think, is absolutely right. He always should play that 3. He plays on that right hand side of the 3, and it gives Trent a lot of cover. I think him doubling up on Walker, helping him out there. Absolutely. What you do is when Mbappe turns and he's running at you, that's when you did. You obviously want to be pressing.
Yeah, exactly.
So all those sort of stuff they'll cover anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the majority of the time, when you win the midfield battle, you'll generally go on to win the game, and that I think that's more than common knowledge. There's obviously the games like where you give up possession, you hit on a counter attack, i.e. Morocco, who ended up going on to win the game. But most of the time, you win the midfield battle, you'll go on to win the game. And I do think you're right in that their midfield could potentially get overrun by our midfield, not necessarily skillful possession-wise or anything like that, but just pure energy. The three that played the other day, Rice, Bellingham, and Henderson, I think they can potentially overrun him. And obviously, like you say, funnel the play towards the right-hand side, but be aware of Dembele as well. Don't necessarily just focus on Kylian Mbappe. He might not actually show up. On to
it's a really good point that about Dembele as well. I think the games that I've seen, I think it was the first game or second game, one of the group stage games, and he absolutely was on fire. He was a standout player, you know what I mean? And he is a very, very talented player. There's obviously Griezmann as well, you know. I think Luke Shaw is more of a liability than Kyle Walker. As good as Kyle Walker is, I still think I won't be piping on like Kyle Walker was. There's no need for that interview. There's no need for say stuff like that because Mbappe, you know, he's got beat by weaker players. Kyle Walker isn't up for nothing. His pace gets him out a lot of things, but technically he's not a great defender. You know, you look at him, he gets beat a lot. So it's the pace always gets him out of shit. So that's the bit I think that needs to be sort of looked at. And I mean, England will do due diligence and do the, you know, planning around both sides and the areas that France attack. But, you know, Mbappe has just been so good so far. I thought Denmark dealt with him really well. And I'd say they were the sort of proper team that he's come up against. So that's the bit for me that's really interesting on how it plays out and pans out. But again, on the turnover, I think England will get joy. The midfield, I think Bellingham's been an absolute superstar. I think moving forward, that'll be it. But then you've got, and I think England's front three, you know, they're good as well. They've been more than good. So I think the France are going to be as worried about England as England are about France.
Yeah, so obviously we're coming down to team selection time. You know, you don't know whether he's going to go with the 4-4-3 that he's went with so far in the tournament. Do you think there's any chance that he's going to go for a 3-5-2? Maybe revert to a more safer approach?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think the 4-3-3's held him well. I think midfield, because what happens is he's got to lose one of the midfielders there. But I don't think he's going to lose a midfield three. I think the midfield three have got they're all hard working and they'll put it, you know, they'll work well out of possession. So I think the 3-5-2 potentially, does you want to go 3-5-2 by getting Kyle Walker on the right side of the three centre halves and stick Trippier in, or Trent? He's not going to pick Trent, but Trippier, do you know what I mean, to give him extra cover there, and then go with Henderson. And I don't know. I think that the 4-3-3 just feels a bit better. I think it gives England good impetus going forward with the three as well. So because you don't want it to end up as playing 3-5. You know, if you're playing, it'll end up being 5-4-1. You know what I mean? So I just think the 4-3-3 gives England enough going forward as well. So yeah, I think 4-3-3 will end up, and I think the team won't be too dissimilar to the team that played against Senegal as well. What about you?
Yeah, similar to you. I hope he goes with the 4-3-3. Again, I just the same team as last time, really, but this time with an emphasis on very, very rigid, and hopefully unleash Bellingham. I think he's the key to our attack, and obviously keeping Mbappe quiet. But we've already mentioned that, I suppose. But got a question of the day before we shoot off.
Yeah, who will be the most important player on Saturday night?
Okay. Questions down below, as always. I've been Kristian. This is Ty. Like, subscribe, all that down below. Cheers, guys.
See you guys. Bye.